The morning sun on Zentara Prime cast purple shadows across the Galactic Youth Academy. Kyle Morrison walked through the main entrance, his bag slung over one shoulder. Everything felt different here. The doors were too wide. The ceilings were too high. Even the air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. He was the first human student at the academy. Earth had just joined the galactic community 6 months ago, and the leaders thought it would be good for a human teenager to study with aliens. Kyle volunteered because he wanted an adventure. Now standing in the hallway surrounded by creatures with scales, tentacles, and glowing skin, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Other students moved away from him as he walked. They whispered to each other and pointed. Kyle tried to smile and look friendly, but that only seemed to make things worse. A small blue creature actually ran away when he waved hello. His schedule said his first class was physical education in Gymnasium 7. Kyle had always liked gym class back on Earth. He played basketball and ran track. He hoped this would be a chance to make some friends, maybe show the aliens that humans were not scary. The gymnasium was huge, at least 3 times bigger than his school gym back home. The floor felt soft under his feet, almost like walking on a thick mattress. Strange equipment lined the walls, things that looked like they belonged in a science lab rather than a gym. About 30 students were already there, representing dozens of different species. Some had forearms. Others floated in the air. One group had scales that changed colors as they moved. They all stopped talking when Kyle entered. A tall alien with blue skin and large black eyes approached him. She wore a uniform that marked her as the teacher. "You must be Kyle Morrison from Earth," she said. Her voice sounded like music, each word flowing into the next. "I am Instructor Vel. Welcome to physical education." "Thank you, ma'am," Kyle said. He tried not to stare at her 3 fingers. "Please join the others. We will begin with a basic assessment today." Instructor Vel walked to the center of the gym. "Class, please form your standard groups." The students gathered in loose clusters. Kyle stood alone. No one came near him. He noticed a group of lizard-like aliens watching him nervously. Their scales were puffed up, which his orientation manual had said meant they were scared. "Today we begin cardiovascular assessments," Instructor Vel announced. "You will run 5 standard units around the track. This is only to establish baseline fitness levels. Please proceed at a comfortable pace for your species." A track materialized on the floor, glowing with soft blue light. It formed a large oval around the gymnasium. The other students moved to the starting line, and Kyle joined them. "Begin," Instructor Vel said. The class started moving. Most of them were jogging slowly, their various legs, tentacles, and other limbs carrying them forward at what looked like an easy pace. Kyle fell in beside them, matching their speed. He was barely moving faster than a walk. 1 lap around the track took about 2 minutes. Kyle felt fine. He was not even breathing hard. But he noticed that some of the other students were already slowing down. A lizard student stumbled to the side, gasping for air. 2 of the floating aliens descended to just above the track, their glow becoming dimmer. By the second lap, about half the class had stopped running. They stood or sat or floated at the edge of the track, breathing heavily. Kyle kept going. This was supposed to be 5 laps. He wondered if he should stop too, but Instructor Vel had not said to stop. The 3rd lap was lonely. Kyle was the only one still moving. Every other student had quit. Some were lying flat on the floor. Others were being examined by small flying robots that scanned them with green lights. Kyle felt awkward being the only one running, but he continued. Instructor Vel stood at the edge of the track, holding a flat device that glowed with alien text. She watched Kyle with an expression he could not read. Her large eyes followed his every movement. The 4th lap felt the same as the first. Kyle's breathing was steady and easy. His legs felt strong. Back home, he used to run 3 miles every morning before school. This was nothing compared to that. When he completed the 5th and final lap, the gymnasium was completely silent except for the sound of his shoes on the soft track. Every eye sensor and visual organ in the room was focused on him. Kyle stopped at the finish line and waited for instructions. Instructor Vel approached him slowly, like someone approaching a dangerous animal. "Kyle Morrison," she said carefully. "How do you feel?" "I feel fine, ma'am," Kyle said honestly. "Should I keep going? I can do more if you want." A wave of gasps and chirps and whistles spread through the alien students. One of them, a small creature with huge eyes, simply fell over. The medical robots rushed to help it. Instructor Vel looked at her device, then at Kyle. then back at her device. You are not tired? Your heart rate is elevated by only 12%. Your breathing is completely normal. This is remarkable. Kyle shrugged. It was only a mile or so, right? That's not very far. More shocked sounds from the students. Another one fainted. Class dismissed for today, Instructor Vell said, her voice shaking slightly. Kyle Morrison, please remain. I need to report this to the medical department. As the other students filed out of the gymnasium, Kyle heard them whispering. Words like Deathworlder and impossible and dangerous floated back to him. He suddenly felt very alone. Instructor Vell turned to him after the last student left. Kyle, do you understand what just happened? I finished the run? Kyle said, confused. You completed an endurance test that exhausted every other student in the class. Most of them have superior fitness for their species. Yet you finished easily without strain and offered to continue. Vell's voice was gentle but serious. I have been teaching for 20 years across 7 different worlds. I have never seen anything like this. I don't understand. It was just running. For you, perhaps. For them, what you did was superhuman. She paused. No, I suppose for you it is simply human. That is what makes it so extraordinary. Kyle felt his face get hot. He had not meant to show off or scare anyone. He just did what the teacher asked. Did I do something wrong? No, child. You did exactly what was asked of you. That is what frightens them. Instructor Vell placed a 3-fingered hand on his shoulder. The gesture felt kind despite how alien it looked. Come. The doctors will want to examine you. They have many questions about your species. As Kyle followed Instructor Vell out of the gymnasium, he looked back at the track. It seemed so short, so easy. He had not realized that something so simple for him could be impossible for others. This was going to be a strange year. The medical center smelled like cleaning chemicals and something else Kyle could not identify. He sat on an examination table that was too high for him, his legs dangling in the air. The table was designed for larger aliens, he supposed. Dr. Helven entered the room, her tentacles moving in waves as she walked. She was a Cortanian, with skin that looked like gray rubber and eyes that sat on short stalks. Those eyes examined Kyle from several angles at once, which made him uncomfortable. Good morning, Kyle Morrison, Dr. Helven said through her translation device. The device hung around what Kyle assumed was her neck, though it was hard to tell where her head ended and her body began. Please do not be alarmed. This is simply a standard medical examination. Okay, Kyle said. He tried to sit still as one of her tentacles held a scanner near his chest. The device beeped and hummed. Dr. Helven made a sound like water bubbling. Kyle's translator did not pick it up as words, so he assumed it was just a noise. She moved to a screen on the wall and pulled up images that looked like the inside of his body. Fascinating, she said. Absolutely fascinating. Your bone density is extraordinary. Your muscle tissue is incredibly compact. And your cardiovascular system operates at pressures that would kill most species in this facility. Kyle shifted nervously. Is that bad? Bad? No. Dr. Helven turned to face him, her eye stalks bending to focus on his face. It is simply remarkable. Tell me, Kyle Morrison, what do you know about your home planet's classification? Not much, Kyle admitted. Some people have called it a death world, but no one explained what that means. Dr. Helven's tentacles curled in what might have been surprise. I see. Then allow me to educate you. She pulled up an image of Earth on her screen, the blue and green planet rotating slowly. Your world is classified as a Class 12 death world. This is one of the highest danger ratings we use for inhabited planets. Kyle stared at the image of his home. Earth is dangerous? Extremely so by galactic standards. Dr. Helven used a tentacle to point at the screen. Your planet's gravity is nearly twice the galactic average. Most species would be crushed by their own weight if they tried to live there. The atmospheric pressure would damage their organs. But it feels normal to me, Kyle said. Of course it does. You evolved there. Your entire body is built to survive in those conditions. Dr. Helven changed the image to show Earth's weather systems. Your planet has storms that generate wind speeds exceeding 200 units per hour. You have rotating columns of air that destroy everything in their path. Your oceans create waves tall enough to swallow buildings. Kyle thought about the tornado that hit his town 2 years ago. Everyone had hidden in basements and been scared, but they all survived. Was that really so unusual? Your planet's surface is broken into pieces that move and crash into each other, Dr. Helven continued. This creates earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Your world literally tries to shake itself apart on a regular basis. Okay, Kyle said slowly. But lots of planets have earthquakes, right? Not like yours. Most stable planets have minimal tectonic activity. Your planet is violently active. Dr. Helvin moved closer, her tentacles gesturing as she spoke. And then there is your sun. It produces radiation that would burn the skin of most species. You have a magnetic field that protects you. But even so, your people must limit exposure or risk cellular damage. Kyle had never thought about sunburn as being unusual. Everyone back home just used sunscreen. Your atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, Dr. Helvin said. Do you understand how high that is? No? Most species breathe atmospheres with 5 to 10% oxygen. 21% is toxic to many of them. It would cause severe damage to their cells over time, yet your body requires this high level to function properly. Kyle was starting to understand why the other students seemed scared of him. So everything about Earth is dangerous? Not everything, but enough that it shaped your species in profound ways. Dr. Helvin pulled up an image of a human body, next to several alien bodies. Look at the difference. Your muscles are incredibly dense because they developed in high gravity. Your bones are thick and strong. Your heart is a powerful pump that can circulate blood under intense pressure. She changed to another image. You have redundant systems throughout your body. 2 kidneys when most species have one. 2 lungs that can function independently. If one fails, the other continues. Your body is built for survival. What about my brain? Kyle asked. Yes. Your brain is quite interesting. Dr. Helvin seemed excited now, her tentacles moving faster. It consumes enormous amounts of energy. Yet you evolved to support it despite the harsh conditions of your world. This suggests strong evolutionary pressure for intelligence. Your ancestors needed to be smart to survive. Kyle thought about his history classes. Humans had survived ice ages, droughts, predators, diseases, and countless other challenges. Maybe Dr. Helvin was right. Your immune system is particularly aggressive, Dr. Helvin continued. It attacks foreign organisms with remarkable efficiency. Most species in the galaxy have much gentler immune responses. Yours is designed for a world full of dangerous pathogens. Is that why everyone stays away from me? Kyle asked quietly. Dr. Helvin's tentacles stopped moving. Partly, yes. But also because you are unknown. Humans are new to the galactic community. There are many rumors and few facts. Some species fear what they do not understand. I would never hurt anyone, Kyle said. I believe you. But consider this from their perspective. Dr. Helvin pulled up an image showing Kyle running on the track next to the alien students. Yesterday, you completed an exercise that exhausted every other student. You were not trying to show off or intimidate them. You were simply doing what came naturally. That is what frightens them. Kyle looked at the image. He did not look scary to himself. Just a regular teenage boy in gym clothes. But next to the alien students, he looked strong and tireless and different. What you did yesterday would be like... Dr. Helvin paused, searching for the right words. Imagine if another student could fly without wings, or breathe underwater without equipment, or see through walls. Something impossible made casual. That is what you represent to them. So what do I do? Kyle asked. You continue being yourself, Dr. Helvin said gently. You show them through your actions that humans are people, not monsters. You give them time to learn and adjust. Fear fades with familiarity. Kyle nodded slowly. It made sense, but it would not be easy. He had hoped to make friends at the academy, not spend his time convincing everyone he was not dangerous. One more thing, Dr. Helvin said. Your pain tolerance is remarkably high. Yesterday's run caused micro-tears in your muscle tissue, which is normal for exercise. But the amount of damage you sustained would have been crippling to most other species. You did not even notice. It hurt a little, Kyle admitted, but not too bad. Exactly. Your perception of pain is different. This is another adaptation to your harsh world. If humans stopped every time they felt minor pain, they would never have survived. Dr. Helvin's eye stalks focused on him intently. Be careful with this, Kyle Morrison. What feels minor to you might be severe to others. Do not assume everyone can endure what you can endure. I understand, Kyle said. Good. Now I need to take some samples for further study. Just small things, some blood and tissue. Is that acceptable? Kyle agreed, and Dr. Helvin efficiently collected what she needed. The needle she used was larger than the ones back home. designed for aliens with thicker skin. It barely hurt. As Kyle left the medical center, he thought about everything Dr. Helvin had told him. Earth was a death world. Humans were built to survive impossible conditions. His normal was extraordinary to everyone else here. It was a lot to process, but it also made him appreciate his home planet in a new way. Earth had made humans strong. Now he just needed to show the galaxy that strength could be used for good. He walked back toward his dormitory, and for the first time he noticed how light his steps felt. The gravity here was so much lower than home. He was walking on a gentle world now, surrounded by people who had never known real harshness. Maybe that was okay. Maybe the galaxy needed both kinds of people. The ones from gentle worlds and the ones from death worlds. Together they might be stronger than either could be alone. Kyle smiled at the thought. It gave him hope. 2 weeks passed since Kyle's first gym class. The other students still kept their distance, but at least they stopped fainting when he walked by. That felt like progress. Today's class was different. When Kyle entered the gymnasium, he saw that the walls had changed. They were covered with climbing surfaces of various types. Some looked like rough stone. Others were smooth with small handholds, and a few seemed to be made of some material that shifted and moved. "Good morning, class," Instructor Vell said. Her blue skin seemed brighter today, which Kyle had learned meant she was in a good mood. "Today we will practice climbing. This exercise teaches us about different approaches to vertical movement and problem solving." The students spread out across the gymnasium, each choosing a wall that suited their abilities. Kyle noticed that the walls had symbols marking difficulty levels. Green for easy, yellow for moderate, red for difficult, and black for what the translator called extreme challenge. The floating students, the Peltherans, simply drifted upward without touching the walls at all. They glowed with soft light as they ascended, looking peaceful and content. Kyle felt a pang of envy. Flying seemed like it would be wonderful. Other species had their own advantages. The ones with sticky pads on their hands and feet climbed easily, adhering to the wall with each step. A group with 6 legs scaled the vertical surface like it was flat ground. Kyle realized again how diverse life in the galaxy was. He approached a yellow wall marked for moderate difficulty. Back home, he had gone rock climbing a few times with his older brother. He was not an expert, but he knew the basics. Find a handhold, test your weight, move 1 limb at a time, always keep 3 points of contact. The wall felt strange under his hands. It was warm and slightly soft, not like real rock at all. But the handholds were clear enough. Kyle started climbing, finding a rhythm. Pull with the arms, push with the legs, shift weight, reach for the next hold. He was about halfway up when he heard a cry of distress. Kyle looked over and saw one of the lizard students on a red wall in the next section. She was clinging to the surface, her scaled hands gripping small holds, but she was shaking badly. "Help!" she called out. Her voice was high and frightened. "I cannot hold on." Instructor Vell was on the far side of the gymnasium. The medical drones were hovering near a group of students on the ground. No one else seemed close enough to help quickly. Kyle made a decision. He traversed sideways across his wall, moving from the yellow section toward the red section where the lizard girl was stuck. The handholds became smaller and farther apart. He had to stretch to reach them, his muscles straining. "Hold on," Kyle called to her. "I am coming." "You cannot reach me," she said. Her voice was panicked now. "The walls are separate. There is a gap." She was right. There was about 3 feet of smooth wall between the 2 climbing sections with no handholds at all. Kyle looked down. They were about 20 feet up. A fall would not kill him probably, but it would hurt. For the lizard girl, who seemed much more fragile, it could be worse. "What is your name?" Kyle asked, trying to keep her calm. "Sela," she said. Her scales were turning darker, which Kyle guessed meant fear. "Okay, Sela, I have a plan. When you fall, I will catch you. That is impossible. You will fall too. Trust me, please." Kyle positioned himself as close to her as he could get. He wedged his feet into a solid crack in the wall and gripped the best handhold he could find with his left hand. His right hand he kept free, reaching out toward where Sela would fall. Below them, students had gathered. Kyle could hear Instructor Vell shouting something, but he was focused on Sela. Her grip was failing. He could see her hands slipping. "I am falling," Sela cried. She dropped from the wall. Kyle's right hand shot out and grabbed her around the waist. The impact jolted his arm, and suddenly he was supporting both their weights with just one hand and his wedged feet. His shoulder burned with strain. His fingers felt like they might break. But he held on. Sela was lighter than he expected, maybe 60 or 70 pounds in this low gravity. He had lifted much more than that in his room doing push-ups. "I have got you," Kyle said through gritted teeth. "We are going down now." Moving carefully, Kyle lowered them both. He could only use one hand to climb since the other was holding Sela. She clung to him, her clawed hands gripping his gym shirt. He moved from hold to hold, always testing his weight before committing. His muscles screamed at him. Sweat ran down his face, but he kept moving, one handhold at a time until his feet touched the soft gymnasium floor. The moment they were down, Sela let go and stumbled backward. Medical drones swarmed around her, scanning her with lights. Other students crowded around, chattering in multiple languages. Kyle stood there, breathing hard, his arm still extended from where he had been holding her. Instructor Vel pushed through the crowd. "That was incredibly reckless," she said, but her voice was not angry. "You could have fallen. You could have been injured." "Sela needed help," Kyle said simply. "You supported her entire weight with one hand while hanging from a wall." Vel's large eyes studied him intensely. "How is that possible?" Kyle shrugged, then winced because his shoulder hurt. "She only weighs about 60 pounds in this gravity. It was not that heavy." The crowd of students made various sounds of amazement. One of the smaller aliens did faint, but Kyle was getting used to that by now. Sela approached him, her scales now a lighter color. "You saved me," she said. "I would have fallen. I would have been badly hurt. You risked yourself for me." "Anyone would have done the same," Kyle said. "No," Sela said firmly. "Many would have watched. Some would have called for help and waited. You acted immediately, without hesitation, even though I am a stranger to you." Kyle did not know what to say. Back home, helping someone in trouble was just what you did. It was not special or heroic, it was basic decency. "The human demonstrates remarkable strength and courage," one of the six-legged students said. Others murmured agreement in their various languages. "I am not remarkable," Kyle protested. "I just did what needed to be done." "That is what makes it remarkable," Instructor Vel said quietly. She turned to address the whole class. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. Kyle Morrison comes from a world we classify as extremely dangerous. His body is built for survival in harsh conditions. But his character, his willingness to help others, that comes from his choices. Physical ability means nothing without the wisdom and kindness to use it well." The class was quiet. Kyle felt his face burning with embarrassment. He was not used to this much attention. "Kyle Morrison," Sela said formally, "I owe you a life debt. In my culture, this is a serious matter. From this day forward, I will stand beside you and speak for you. Others may fear the Deathworlder, but I know the truth. You are a protector, not a threat." "You do not owe me anything," Kyle said. "Really, I am just glad you are okay." But Sela was not listening. She turned to the other students and raised her voice. "Let all here witness. The human saved my life today. He is strong, yes, but he is also kind. We have judged him wrongly out of fear and ignorance. I will judge him no longer." Some students looked uncertain. Others seemed thoughtful. A few nodded in agreement. Kyle noticed that the Peltherans who had been floating far away from him were now drifting closer, their lights brighter and steadier. Over the next hour, the class continued with climbing exercises. But something had changed. Students who had avoided Kyle now worked near him. They still seemed cautious, but the fear had lessened. Several even asked him questions about human climbing techniques. Kyle answered as best he could, trying to be friendly without being overwhelming. He demonstrated how to test handholds and how to distribute weight. He was careful to move slowly and explain everything he was doing. By the end of class, a small group had formed around Kyle. Sela was at the center, her scales now a warm orange color that his translator said meant contentment and pride. Two Peltherans floated nearby. Their names were Norn and Kellis. A six-legged student named Prex asked technical questions about human muscle structure. "This is good," Instructor Vel told Kyle as the class ended. "You have made progress today, not just in climbing, but in something more important." "What is that?" Kyle asked. "Building bridges," Vel said. "Between your people and ours. Between fear and understanding. This is the real purpose of the Academy. Physical education is just the tool we use to teach these lessons." Kyle thought about that as he walked back to his dormitory. Sela walked with him, chattering about her home planet and her family. She seemed to have completely lost her fear of him. It felt nice to have a friend, even if that friendship started with him catching her while hanging from a wall. Maybe Dr. Helvin was right. Fear faded with familiarity. And maybe, just maybe, humans could find their place in this strange galactic community after all. The important thing was to keep trying, keep being himself, and keep helping others when they needed it. The rest would work itself out. Kyle's life at the academy was getting better. After the climbing incident, more students were willing to talk to him. Sela had become his close friend, and she often ate lunch with him in the cafeteria. Norin, one of the Peltherans, would float nearby during classes and ask questions about Earth. It was the 4th week of the semester when everything changed again. Kyle was eating breakfast in the dining hall when he noticed a group of students he had never seen before. They were huge, easily 7 feet tall, with rocky gray skin and 4 powerful arms. Each one was built like a boulder with legs. "Those are Kraltek," Sela said quietly. She had sat down across from Kyle with her tray of food, which looked like colorful crystals. "They are from a high-gravity world. Not as high as Earth, but higher than most. They pride themselves on being the strongest species in the academy." "They look strong," Kyle said. He meant it. The Kraltek students moved with confidence, their 4 arms gesturing as they talked loudly with each other. "They are very competitive about physical ability," Sela continued. Her scales darkened slightly, showing worry. "I have heard that they do not like the attention you have been receiving. Some species have been saying that humans might be stronger than Kraltek." Kyle frowned. "I never said I was stronger than anyone. I just do my exercises." "I know. But rumors spread quickly here." Sela looked uncomfortable. "Be careful, Kyle. The Kraltek do not like being challenged." As if they had heard their names, the group of Kraltek students turned toward Kyle's table. The largest one, who seemed to be their leader, started walking over. His forearms swung at his sides and his footsteps made the floor shake slightly. "You are the human," the Kraltek said. His voice was deep and rumbling. "I am Brock. I lead the Kraltek students here." Kyle stood up politely. Even standing, he only came up to Brock's chest. "Nice to meet you. I am Kyle Morrison." "We have heard many things about you," Brock said. His 4 eyes, 2 on each side of his head, focused on Kyle. "They say you are very strong, that you completed the endurance run when others could not, that you held another student's weight with 1 hand while climbing." "I just did what the instructors asked," Kyle said carefully. "The Kraltek are the strongest species in this academy," Brock said. His voice was loud enough that other students in the dining hall turned to watch. "We have always been the strongest. But now there are whispers that a tiny human from a death world might be stronger. This is unacceptable." Kyle felt his stomach tighten. He did not want to fight. He just wanted to eat his breakfast and go to class. "I am not trying to challenge anyone. Nevertheless, you have," Brock said. "The Kraltek cannot allow doubt about our strength. I challenge you to a competition. Simple tests of physical ability. If you lose, you will tell everyone that humans are not as strong as the rumors claim." "And if I win?" Kyle asked quietly. Brock's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "If you win, the Kraltek will acknowledge human strength. But you will not win. You are too small." Sela stood up quickly. "This is not fair. Kyle has done nothing to you." "It is fair," Brock said. "It is a simple competition. Unless the human is afraid?" Kyle thought about backing down. It would be easier. He could apologize, say he was not that strong, and avoid the whole situation. But something inside him resisted. Not pride exactly, more like a stubborn refusal to lie about what he could do. "Okay," Kyle said. "I will compete with you. But it has to be fair. Same gravity conditions for both of us. No adjustments." Brock's expression flickered just for a moment. The Academy's normal gravity was lower than both Earth and the Kraltek homeworld, but Earth's gravity was higher. Competing in standard Academy gravity gave Brock a slight advantage over his normal environment, but gave Kyle a bigger advantage. "Agreed," Brock said after a pause. "Tomorrow in the gymnasium, the entire Academy will witness." He turned and walked away, his 3 companions following. The dining hall erupted in whispers. Students from dozens of species were chattering about the challenge. "Kyle, you do not have to do this," Sela said urgently. "No one will think less of you if you refuse." "I will think less of me," Kyle said. He sat back down, but his breakfast did not taste good anymore. Besides, someone needs to show that humans are not weak just because we are smaller. That night, Kyle could not sleep well. He kept thinking about the competition. What would they be doing? Lifting, running, something else? He did some push-ups and sit-ups in his room just to stay loose. The next day, word had spread throughout the entire academy. When Kyle arrived at the gymnasium, it was packed with students. Every species was represented, crowding the edges of the space to watch. The noise was incredible. Hundreds of voices in dozens of languages all talking at once. Instructor Vel stood in the center with Brock and several other Kraltech students. She waved Kyle over. "This is highly irregular," Vel said. She looked frustrated. "But since both of you have agreed, I will oversee the competition to ensure safety and fairness. Is this acceptable?" "Yes," Kyle and Brock said at the same time. "Very well. The competition will consist of 3 events: lifting, pulling, and endurance. Each event will be scored, and the winner will be determined by total score." Vel gestured to equipment that had been set up around the gymnasium. "We will start with the lifting competition." A large barbell had been placed in the center of the floor. It was loaded with weight plates marked in alien symbols. Kyle's translator told him each plate was 50 pounds. "Each competitor will lift the maximum weight they can," Vel explained. "You will each get 3 attempts. Brock, as the challenger, you will go first." Brock stepped forward, all 4 of his arms flexing. The watching students cheered and made various sounds of encouragement. He approached the barbell, which was loaded with 6 plates on each side. Kyle did the math quickly. "The bar plus 600 pounds of plates." Brock gripped the bar with all 4 hands. He pulled, lifting it smoothly off the ground. The weight came up to his waist, and he held it there for a count of 3 before setting it down. The crowd roared approval. 600 pounds, Vel announced. "Kyle Morrison, your turn." Kyle walked to the barbell. He had been lifting weights since he was 14, training for track and basketball. His personal best back home was around 450 pounds, but that was in Earth's gravity, which was nearly twice this. He gripped the bar with both hands and pulled. The weight felt almost light. He lifted it easily, straightening his legs and back, holding it at his waist. "Add more weight," Kyle said. The crowd went quiet. Sela and Norin were at the front, watching intensely. Workers came forward and added 2 more plates to each side. 700 pounds total. Kyle lifted it again. Still manageable. The weight felt heavy but not impossible. "More," he said. 8 plates. 800 pounds. Kyle pulled, feeling his muscles work hard now. The bar came up slower this time, but steady. He held it for the count and set it down carefully. Brock stared at the barbell. Then he stepped forward for his second attempt. He gripped the bar with all 4 arms and pulled. The weight moved, rising about an inch off the ground, but then Brock had to drop it. He tried again with the same result. "The human wins the lifting event," Vel announced. The crowd exploded with noise. Some students were cheering, others seemed shocked. A few looked frightened. Kyle tried not to show how much his back was hurting. That last lift had been at his limit. The pulling event was next. They would pull a weighted sled across the gymnasium floor. Brock went first again, pulling a sled loaded with massive weights. He made it across, all 4 of his arms straining against the ropes. Kyle pulled the same weight. It was hard. Harder than the lifting had been because it required sustained effort rather than one burst. His hands burned where the ropes dug in. His legs drove against the floor. But he made it across, matching Brock's time almost exactly. "The pulling event is a tie," Vel announced. The final event was endurance. They would do as many push-ups as possible without stopping. Brock lowered himself to the floor, all 4 arms supporting him. He started doing push-ups, his rocky body rising and falling. He made it to 47 before his arms gave out. Kyle took his position. He started doing push-ups, keeping his form strict like his coach had taught him. At 50, he passed Brock's count. At 75, his arms started to burn. At 100, he was breathing hard but not stopping. 138, Vel counted. 139. At 150, Kyle finally stopped. He could have done more, but his arms were shaking badly. He stood up carefully, trying not to show how tired he was. The gymnasium was completely silent. Every student, every species stared at Kyle. Then Sela started clicking her claws together in applause. Norin brightened his glow. One by one, the other students joined in their various forms of celebration. Brock walked over to Kyle. For a moment, Kyle thought the Kraltech might be angry, but instead Brock extended all 4 of his hands. "I was wrong," Brock said simply. "You are very strong. Stronger than me." Kyle shook all 4 hands. "You are strong too." This was a good competition. How? Brock asked. You are so small. Where does your strength come from? My planet, Kyle said. Earth is hard. Everything there tries to kill you. Humans got strong because we had to be Ho. The competition with Brock changed everything. Students who had avoided Kyle now approached him in the hallways. They wanted to know about Earth, about human abilities, about what life was like on a death world. Kyle tried to answer their questions as honestly as he could. Gym class became different too. Instructor Vel stopped treating Kyle like he might break the other students just by existing. Instead, she started designing lessons that let everyone learn from each other. Today we will explore different movement styles, Vel announced one morning. Each species has unique abilities. Today you will teach each other. She divided the class into small groups, mixing species together. Kyle found himself with Sela, Norin, Brock, and a small student named Pip. Pip was a minute, barely reaching Kyle's knee, with huge eyes that took up most of his face. I will teach you about temperature regulation, Sela said. Her scales shifted through several colors as she spoke. We Thoraxians can control our body heat, watch. She placed her hand against a panel that showed temperature readings. The numbers dropped rapidly, showing that her hand was becoming cold. Then they rose again as she warmed it back up. That is amazing, Kyle said. How do you do it? It is about blood flow and scale adjustment, Sela explained. She showed them how her scales could lie flat or stand up, trapping air for insulation or releasing heat. On my world, temperatures change rapidly between day and night. We evolved this ability to survive. Norin floated forward, his blue light pulsing gently. I will demonstrate Peltheran meditation techniques. They allow us to float more efficiently and maintain our bioluminescence longer. He guided them through breathing exercises. Though breathing meant different things for different species, the meditation was about finding calm and focus. Kyle tried it and felt his racing thoughts slow down. It was peaceful. This is wonderful, Kyle said. I feel relaxed. Humans can benefit from meditation too, Norin said. His light brightened with what Kyle had learned was pleasure. Your species experiences stress from your harsh world. These techniques might help. Brock stepped forward next. Kraltech combat forms use all forearms in coordination. I will show you the basic defensive stance. He moved through a series of poses, his forearms creating overlapping defensive patterns. Kyle could only use two arms, but he tried to follow the principle of the movements. It was like a dance, each motion flowing into the next. You learn quickly, Brock said, sounding impressed. For having only two arms, you adapt well. Pip spoke up, his tiny voice high and quick. I will teach you about minute engineering principles. We are small, so we must be clever with tools and leverage. He produced a small device and showed them how it could multiply force through a system of gears and pulleys. Despite his size, Pip used the tool to lift objects much heavier than himself. Smart, Kyle said. That is really smart. We Minute cannot rely on strength, Pip said. His huge eyes blinked at Kyle. But intelligence is its own kind of power. When it was Kyle's turn, he felt nervous. What could he teach them? He was just a regular human. But then he remembered something from his cross-country training. Humans are good at endurance, Kyle said. We used to hunt by chasing animals until they got too tired to run. I can teach you about pacing and breathing for long-distance running. He showed them how to breathe in rhythm with their steps, how to pace themselves so they did not get tired too quickly, how to push through the discomfort when their bodies wanted to stop. The trick is understanding the difference between being tired and being hurt, Kyle explained. Tired means you can keep going. Hurt means you need to stop. Your body will lie to you and say you are hurt when you are just tired. You have to learn the difference. Sela tried running with his technique. She made it twice as far as usual before stopping. This is remarkable. How did you learn to push through the tiredness? Practice, Kyle said. And necessity. On Earth, if you stopped running, something might catch you. The group spent the rest of the class teaching each other. Kyle learned that Thoraxian scales could change texture as well as color. Norin showed him how Peltherans could dim their light to become nearly invisible in darkness. Brock taught him a Kraltech breathing technique that could slow the heart rate during stress. By the end of class, Kyle felt like he understood his classmates better. They were not just aliens anymore. They were people with their own strengths and challenges, just like humans. Over the next few weeks, Kyle noticed changes throughout the academy. More students spoke to him in the hallways. They invited him to study groups and social events. The fear had not disappeared entirely, but it had transformed into curiosity and respect. One evening, Kyle sat in the common room with his growing group of friends. Sela was showing them pictures of her homeworld, a planet with purple skies and crystal forests. Norn floated nearby, providing gentle light for them to see by. Brock sat cross-legged on the floor, taking up space meant for 3 normal students. Pip perched on a table, his tiny hands manipulating a holographic display. "I have been thinking," Pip said in his high voice. "The gymnasium equipment is designed for average galactic species, but we have students here who fall outside average. Kyle is much stronger. I am much smaller. Brock needs 4-armed equipment. What if we designed adaptive equipment that could adjust to any species?" "That is a good idea," Kyle said. "How would it work?" Pip's eyes widened with excitement. "Smart materials that can change shape and resistance. Adjustable gravity fields for different training intensities. Modular designs that work for 2 arms or 4 or 6. "I could help with the heavy lifting," Kyle offered. Actually lifting heavy things to test the equipment. "And I could test temperature resistance features," Sela added. "Many species need different environmental conditions." "The Kraltech would be honored to assist," Brock said. "This is a worthy project." Over the following weeks, the group worked together on designing new equipment. Pip did most of the engineering, his clever mind solving problems that seemed impossible. Kyle tested prototypes, often breaking the early versions with his Deathworld strength. Sela provided feedback on comfort and adaptability. Brock checked the equipment for 4-armed users. Norin, with his calm presence, kept them all organized and focused. Instructor Vel was impressed when they presented their first working prototype. It was a weight machine that could adjust from 5 pounds to 2,000 pounds, accommodate users with 2 to 8 arms, and operate in variable gravity fields. "This is excellent work," Vel said, examining the machine carefully. "You have solved a problem I did not even realize we had. Equipment that works for everyone, regardless of their physiology." "We make a good team," Kyle said, looking at his friends. "Everyone brings something different." "That is the purpose of the academy," Vel said. "Not just to teach physical education, but to teach cooperation. To show that different species can work together, learn from each other, and create something better than any one species could create alone." She turned to address the whole class, which had gathered to see the presentation. "Kyle Morrison came to us as an unknown. Many of you feared him, some still do perhaps, but through patience, kindness, and effort, he has shown us that being different is not the same as being dangerous. His strength comes from a harsh world, yes, but his character comes from his choices." Kyle felt his face get hot with embarrassment. He was not used to praise like this. "All of you have learned and grown this semester," Vel continued. "Not just in physical ability, but in understanding. You have learned that a Thoraxian can be brave despite being fragile, that a Minute can move mountains with cleverness despite being small, that a Kraltech can be gentle despite being powerful, and that a human can be kind, despite coming from a world that breeds survivors." The class responded with various sounds and gestures of approval. Kyle saw students from species he had never even spoken to making friendly signs toward him. That night, Kyle video called his family back on Earth. His mom appeared on the screen, her face lighting up when she saw him. "Kyle, honey, how are you? We miss you so much." "I miss you too, Mom, but I am doing good. Really good, actually. Tell me everything. Are the other students being nice to you?" Kyle thought about Sela saving him a seat at lunch, about Norin teaching him meditation, about Brock calling him little brother, despite being twice his size, about Pip's excited chatter as they built equipment together. "Yeah, Mom, they are being nice. It was hard at first. They were scared of me because Earth is so different from their worlds. But we figured it out. I am so proud of you," his mom said. Her eyes were getting watery. "Your father and I both are. You are representing all of humanity out there." "I am just being myself," Kyle said. "That is exactly what makes us proud." After the call ended, Kyle sat in his room thinking. A few months ago, he had been a normal teenager from Earth. Now he was the first human in a galactic academy, teaching aliens about endurance running and learning about bioluminescence meditation. It was strange. It was challenging. Sometimes it was scary. But it was also wonderful. He thought about Dr. Helvin's words from his first medical examination. Earth was a death world and humans were built to survive it. But survival was not the same as thriving. Here at the academy, The final month of the semester arrived faster than Kyle expected. The academy was preparing for end-of-term evaluations, which meant every class was reviewing what students had learned. In gym class, this meant a comprehensive physical assessment that would test everything they had practiced. Instructor Vel gathered the students in the gymnasium one morning. The space had been transformed into multiple testing stations, each designed to evaluate different physical abilities. "Today begins your final evaluation," Vel announced. Her blue skin had taken on a serious, darker shade. "You will rotate through 6 stations over the next 3 days. Each station tests different skills. You will be evaluated not just on performance but on improvement, effort, and cooperation." Kyle noticed that last word, cooperation. That was new. "At each station you will work in your assigned teams," Vel continued. "Your team's success depends on all members contributing their unique abilities. This reflects the reality of our galactic community. No species thrives alone. We succeed together or not at all." Kyle found himself assigned to a team with Sela, Norin, Pip, and Brock, the same group he had been working with for weeks. They moved to their first station together. The first station was an obstacle course, but unlike anything Kyle had seen before. It had sections that required climbing, areas filled with water, zones of extreme heat and cold, and puzzles that needed solving. No single species could complete it alone. "We need a strategy," Pip said, his huge eyes scanning the course. "Kyle can handle the strength sections. Sela can manage temperature extremes. Norin can cross the water by floating. Brock can use his forearms for the climbing sections that need multiple grips. I can solve the technical puzzles. What if we help each other through the hard parts?" Kyle suggested. "Like I can carry Pip through the water section since he is too small to swim it safely. Sela can guide Norin through the temperature zone since he is sensitive to heat." The team spent several minutes planning. When they ran the course, they moved like a well-trained unit. Kyle lifted Pip onto his shoulders for the water crossing. Brock used his strength to create a bridge over a gap that was too wide for the others. Sela's temperature resistance let her retrieve items from a cold chamber that would have frozen the others. Norin's floating ability allowed him to scout ahead and warn them about hazards. Pip's clever thinking solved mechanical puzzles in seconds. They completed the course in record time. Instructor Vel made notes on her datapad, nodding with approval. The second station tested endurance, but with a twist. Each team member had to complete a portion of a long-distance relay while carrying a weighted baton. The weight adjusted automatically to be challenging for each species. Kyle ran his section easily, the baton feeling light in his hand despite being set to 200 pounds. He passed it to Brock, who took it with 2 of his 4 hands. Brock's portion was shorter but included rough terrain. Sela ran next, her reptilian legs pumping as she navigated a course designed for her physiology. Norin floated his section, the baton suspended in an anti-gravity field that let him carry it. Finally, Pip completed the course in a small vehicle designed for minute users, controlling it with precise movements. "Good teamwork," Vel said when they finished. "Each of you completed your part knowing the others depended on you. This is the essence of cooperation." The third station was about combat scenarios, but these were not violent. Instead, they were defensive exercises teaching students how to protect themselves and others without causing harm. "Violence is not the way of the academy," Vel explained, "but understanding defense is important. You may face dangerous situations. You must know how to respond without becoming the danger yourself." The exercises involved simulated threats from holographic projectors. Students had to work together to neutralize the threats through positioning, distraction, and non-harmful containment. Kyle found this station challenging. His instinct was to physically confront the threats using his strength. But Pip showed him another way. "Watch," Pip said. A holographic predator approached their team. Instead of fighting it, Pip activated a device that created a light pattern. The predator, programmed to respond to certain stimuli, turned away confused. "Intelligence can overcome threats that strength cannot." Brock added his own lesson. "My people value strength greatly, but we also know that the strongest warrior is the one who never needs to fight. Positioning and awareness prevent more conflicts than force ever resolves." Kyle practiced these principles. He learned to use his size and presence to direct threats away from vulnerable team members, rather than confronting them directly. He discovered that sometimes just standing between danger and his friends was enough, without throwing a single punch. The fourth station tested problem-solving under physical stress. Teams had to complete complex puzzles while performing exhausting exercises. The goal was to show that mental ability did not stop just because the body was tired. "This is horrible," Sela gasped as she ran on a treadmill while trying to solve a pattern-matching puzzle. Her scales were dark with stress. "Keep breathing steady," Kyle encouraged from the next station. He was doing pull-ups while calculating mathematical sequences. "Remember the meditation Norin taught us. Stay calm even when tired." The team struggled through this station. It was designed to be difficult, to push them beyond comfort. But they encouraged each other, celebrated small victories, and never gave up. When they finally completed all the challenges, they were exhausted but proud. The fifth station was about teaching. Each team member had to instruct the others in a skill unique to their species. Then they were evaluated on how well the others learned. Kyle taught human distance running techniques again, but this time with more depth. He explained about lactic acid buildup, about proper breathing, about mental strategies for pushing through discomfort. "On Earth we have a saying," Kyle told his team. "Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. It means that the discomfort of exercise will pass, but the regret of giving up stays with you." Sela taught advanced temperature regulation. Norin guided them through complex meditation patterns. Brock demonstrated four-armed combat forms that even two-armed students could learn principles from. Pip lectured on leverage and mechanical advantage, using examples they could all understand. The evaluation at this station was not about perfect execution. It was about patience in teaching and willingness to learn. Kyle discovered he enjoyed teaching, watching his friends grasp concepts that were natural to him. The sixth and final station was the most important. It was about community service and helping others. Each team was assigned to assist younger students or students with disabilities, helping them complete basic exercises. Kyle's team worked with a group of first-year students who were struggling with a simple climbing wall. These young aliens were scared, unsure of their abilities, and frustrated by failure. "I remember my first day here," Kyle said to a small Thoraxian who was afraid to climb. "Everyone was scared of me. I felt alone and different. But I learned that being different is not bad. It is just different." He showed the young student how to find handholds, how to test weight before committing, how to trust their own strength. When the student successfully reached the top of the wall, their scales brightened with joy. Sela helped a Peltheran who was having trouble maintaining altitude. Brock guided a young Kreltek through proper lifting form. Norin taught meditation to students with anxiety. Pip designed simplified tools for students who lacked fine motor control. By the end of the day, Kyle felt more tired than after any physical exercise. But it was a good tired. Helping others took energy, but it also gave something back. Purpose, connection, meaning. On the final day of evaluations, Instructor Vel called all the students together for results and closing remarks. "You have all grown tremendously this semester," she began. "When we started, you were individuals from different species, unsure of each other, focused on your own abilities. Now you are a community." She pulled up displays showing improvement metrics for every student. Kyle saw that his endurance scores had actually increased, which surprised him. He was already working in lower gravity. How had he improved? "Kyle Morrison," Vel said, addressing him directly. "Your physical scores are exceptional as expected. But what impresses me most is your growth in other areas. Cooperation, teaching, emotional intelligence. These are the skills that matter most." She turned to address the whole class. "All of you have learned the most important lesson of physical education. The body is just a tool. How you use it, why you use it, and who you use it for, that determines its value." Vel paused, her large eyes scanning the assembled students. "Kyle came to us as a Deathworlder. This label carried fear and prejudice, but he has shown us that where you come from matters less than who you choose to be. Earth made him strong. His choices made him good." Kyle felt his throat tighten with emotion. He had worked so hard this semester, not just physically but emotionally, learning to be patient with fear, learning to accept his own differences while respecting others, learning that strength without purpose was just violence waiting to happen. "I want to announce something," Vel continued. "The Academy has decided to establish a new program.